Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Genesis chapter 26, verses 12 through 22. And if you are a faithful listener, watcher, whatever you'd be doing on here, then you know I'm a day late and $1 short. But Isaac is not $1 short. In fact, he gets very wealthy in this encounter, this continued encounter with the Philistines and with Abimelech, the king of the Philistines. And what I do want to note just real quickly is that this is a very similar story with what Abraham went through as well. His is a little shorter, his encounter with the Philistines and digging a well and some conflict that came about that. Wells were very important back then. They were a very important form of wealth, an important way to feed or to water a flock and to take care of folks. Didn't have running water like we do today, and so as you can imagine, if there was a way to control water, then that would be very important back then. So that's why this is circling around this conflict over these wells. So Isaac now semi-settles in the land of Gerar, and Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. So he plants his seeds, and goodness, there's so much coming back. It's 100-fold. He is being blessed so much. And who is it that blessed him? It is the Lord that blessed him. It's the Lord that's giving him the blessings. It's the Lord that's taking care of him. Isaac is, of course, being obedient. I'm sure if he stayed in his tent and he never planted the seeds, then God would have never blessed him, right? He had to go out and plant the seeds. But at the end of the day, Isaac doesn't get up and say, "Oh, look, I have 100-fold out there. It's being very productive." He doesn't say, "Oh, it's because I'm just this great person. I've just planted very well and I'm just great." No, it's understood that the reason he is successful is because the Lord has blessed him, and that's a good attitude for us to always have. Any success, any progress, any achievements that we earn, that we make, at the end of the day, it's because the Lord has blessed us. Even if we were obedient, even if we did endure, even if we did overcome various obstacles and challenges, we can obviously say all that. But at the end of the day, we're not going to take credit for it. We're going to say this is from the Lord. He is the one that has blessed us. I think it's a good attitude, a good thought process for us to have. And the man became rich. So Isaac becomes rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. Don't you like that sentence, the way that worked? He became rich, and then he gained more and more until he became very wealthy. So he started out rich, and now he's very wealthy. I'd be just fine with rich, but very wealthy, man, he has all kinds of things, and ultimately this is because the Lord has blessed him. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Of course, this is what's going to happen. If you're successful, if you get promotions, if you find yourself being blessed by God, people are going to envy you. It's just the way it works. And so that's another attitude you need to have, is that people will envy you. And so this other people group in the area is becoming envious of Isaac because he's got all this wealth. He's got all this flocks. He's growing all of this land. So they're envying him. And so because they envied him, they sinned. And that's what happens if people are jealous of you. They're going to, from time to time, make things difficult for you. So now the Philistines had stopped and filled the earth with all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father. So, of course, you remember everything that Abraham had, Isaac would have gotten, including all the wells that he perhaps dug. And so the Philistines were so envious that they have filled up the wells. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to dig a well. It's a lot of work to fill in a well. So that's what they did. They filled in this well. The envy actually caused them to then turn against and begin to attack in this way Abraham, or attack Isaac. And it's a very passive type of attack, isn't it? It's not front and center. It's passive, filling up the wells, and it's economic in nature. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than me." So they're filling up the wells. They're envious of him and said, "Just get out of town. Just get out of our face. You are much mightier than us." They're probably threatened a little bit, even though, as we see, Isaac is going to be very much a pacifist. He is not going to be engaging in any sort of warfare at all. Where, if you remember, Abraham had this great military victory in his storyline. Isaac, he is very much a man that kind of stays out of these kind of conflicts. So he says leave. What does he do? He leaves. I'm not sure if that's an example for us to follow or not. I'm going to lean toward it is, because this is what Jesus told us to do, right? Somebody strikes you on the right cheek, you give them to your left. And so we don't see the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, or even Jacob. We don't see them actually fighting for the land, asserting their rights. Isaac said, okay, you think we're better? Well, then we'll go. Because ultimately his trust is that the Lord is going to bless him and the Lord's going to take care of him. So there's this just subtle trust in the Lord that, okay, if you want me gone, I'll go. So he departed from there and he camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. So now he's in the valley. And Isaac dug again. So remember, the Philistines filled up all of their wells, and now he's having to dig again. That is definitely a good example for us to follow, is to be, to persevere, to keep going when we're kind of pushed down, when we are attacked in a certain way. Is to not give up, but to just quietly keep working, put our head down, and continue to work and do what we should do. So he dug again the wells that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. Again, this is a subtle way of Moses, as he's putting this storyline together, of telling us, hey, Isaac is getting everything that Abraham got. He's getting Abraham's blessing, and he's redigging these wells, and he's giving them the exact same names that Abraham gave them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a wellspring of water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen. Of course, you remember that's what happened with Abraham as well. They said, no, the water's ours. It's not yours. It's ours. You dug and you found water, but it's ours. And so he called the name of the well Esek, because they what? They contended with him. There you go, the connection there. Esek and contend. Then they dug another well. Again, the persistence. He didn't fight them. He didn't push them. He just said, okie dokie, we'll go over here. The Lord seems to bless whatever I do. Goes over here and digs another well. And what do? They quarrel over that one also. And so he called its name Sitnah, Coral Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well 3 times. Dig, dig, dig. And they keep kind of going against him. And they did not what here? They did not quarrel over it. So he called its name Rehoboth, saying, for now the Lord has made room for us. The Lord has done it. Isaac is always trusting the Lord, and he's always giving the Lord credit for what he has done. Yes, he's very pacifistic in nature. He doesn't attack. He doesn't push back. But ultimately, he realizes, hey, the Lord's going to prosper what I do. There's no sense in me getting in fights with people. I'm just going to go off and find my little place. And now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And here is, real quickly before I end, I know this video is probably getting a little bit longer, is that this storyline is actually in between. Like, we've already had the birth of Jacob and Esau, and Jacob holding on to the to the foot when he comes out. And so this story here about Isaac's prosperity is actually put in the middle of the introduction of Isaac and Jacob, not because it happened, or the introduction of Jacob and Esau. That's put here not because it's chronological. All of this probably happened beforehand, because in the next story we're going to see that it didn't look like Isaac and Rebekah were married. But it's put here to let us know, hey, Isaac is trusting the Lord. And this is very much in contrast to what Jacob does. He doesn't trust the Lord. He doesn't just, okay, the Lord has blessed me, so I'm just going to kind of, do my thing and do what's right. But Jacob is just overtly trying to manipulate things to get what he needs. And this is in stark contrast to his father, Isaac. So we'll look more at that in just a little bit, realizing that the Lord has made room for us. Pray that has been a blessing to you. I'll see you in the next video.